So okay, today let's talk about unit 4 of psychometrics, that is about the applications. Okay, what are the uses of psychometrics or psychological test? Okay, what we did before is we talked about two unit. One is about psychological assessment, and we also went in the test construction. Okay, how to construct a test. And there is part 3, there is unit 3 about the science of psychological measurement, where there is all this stats thing, and also there is about reliability, validity, and about errors. So we are going to talk about it later. First, let's look at unit 4, the applications of psychological test. So psychological test is used in various settings. One is in mental health settings such as clinical and counseling. So clinical is there and counseling is there. Okay, so we are going to talk about that. And not just psychometrics is used or psychological test is used in those settings, is also used in educational settings. We are going to talk about that as well, and it is used in organizational settings as well. So let's get into it. So let's first talk about clinical settings. Okay, so in clinical settings, what we will do, okay, we'll do is assessment. Okay, assess. What we will assess? Mental health. We will check for personality traits, moods, and mental disorders. Okay, we are not just going to assess, we are also going to do is diagnose and create a treatment planning, helping to diagnose and plan treatment. Okay, how will treatment go? We are going to do it with the help of psychological test. Okay, we are also going to do is diagnosis. Okay, so do you have depression, do you have anxiety? We are also going to do diagnosis using psychological test. Okay, we'll give questionnaires and they'll fill it up, and then we can know what type of mental illness do they have, and we'll know like how severe it is. Is it moderate? Is it severe? So based on that, we'll also plan treatment, how we are going to approach treatment. And there is monitoring. We are also going to monitor. Okay, let's say you went through few therapy session, and now you want to track progress. Okay, we can do it again by filling up those questionnaires and see if there is a reduction in symptoms. Okay, so we are going to do it with the help of psychological test. Okay, monitor progress, tracking how well treatment is working. Okay, and evaluation of therapeutic intervention. Again, we are having therapy and how beneficial it is, or isn't it quite beneficial or not. Like we are going to like evaluate. Okay, seeing if therapy is effective or not. Okay, that's what we are also going to do, and we are also going to do is research. So we are going to assess for mental health. That's first thing. Okay, second is we are also going to use for diagnosis and treatment planning. Third is we are also going to use for monitoring the progress. Fourth is we are going to evaluate for therapeutic intervention as well. We can do evaluation of therapeutic intervention as well, and we can also do research. Okay, studying mental health and developing better test. Okay, that's what we do in mental health settings. So let's talk about some of the examples. So there are personality tests like MMPI, 16PF, and Rorschach and TAT test. Then there is also test for authoritarian and tolerance for ambiguity. Okay, this is specific types of personality. There are structural clinical interviews. Okay, there are neuroticism scale questionnaires. So this is something you can study. Okay, you can memorize. These are some of the examples. There are also the examples of some of the Indian psychological tests, which you can again study yourself. And the test should be reliable and valid. It should be done ethically. Okay, norms and interpretation should be done properly. Most important thing, test must be administered correctly. Okay, this is important. Integration with therapeutics, using test to guide therapy. Obviously, we can use this psychological test to guide therapy. You can see what's the level of your, let's say, anxiety or depression, and based on that we can plan therapy according to it. So that was about clinical settings. Let's talk about counseling. Okay, so actually we are talking counseling under mental health settings, but we are also going to cover other aspects of counseling as well. So there is a mental health counselor, yes, and there's also clinicologist. There is occupational counselors as well. There are school counselors, there are neuropsychologists and researchers. Okay, so there are different kinds of counselors. So let's talk about that. These are some of the examples which you can study yourself: WAIS and MMPI2, as well as projectile test. Most commonly used, again, MMPI, depression based testing for depression. This is intelligence testing, and this is also for intelligence, so you can memorize it. Okay, most used assessment tools in career counseling. So in career counseling, what are the types of test assessment tools we use? First is interest measure, such as Kuder's interest inventory. In career, we should know about the interest, what people are interested in, so we'll use interest based test. We'll also use aptitude test. Okay, aptitude means what? It's measure it measures potential to learn. Okay, it measures how the potential of you to become successful at a particular thing. So we can use aptitude test as well for career counseling, like differential aptitude test. Okay, then we can also look for values. What do you value? What things do you value? Right? So including the work value inventory. So choosing career, you need interest, you need to know what you value, and you should also know about your potential to success. So based on that, there are tests which you can memorize it yourself. Again, it's this unit is all about memorizing this whole thing. The general idea is obviously in clinical setting, to assess, to diagnose, to monitor progress, to evaluate therapeutic and research. Similarly in counseling, it's similar. Okay, it's also to access, it's also to maybe not the diagnosis part, but maybe monitoring the progress of counseling, also evaluating whether counseling is going right or not, and we can also use it for research. So let's talk about school counseling. Okay, there is cognitive ability test. It's like thoughts based test. Cognition is about thoughts, and there are WISC and SAT exams or tests as well. There is achievement and aptitude test. Again, we need to know about achievement, we need to know also about our potential, interest, again it is important, and personality test. Yeah, certain people with certain personality are quite good at certain things, so it's used as well. So purpose of psychological assessment in counseling. Okay, particularly in counseling, what is the purpose of psychological assessment? Increase self-knowledge. Okay, career choices, obviously career counseling, participation, potential for self-harm. It may be more related to mental health based counseling, progress. Okay, if you are progressing or not, and lots more. So that is all about one is clinical, and second is counseling, the application of psychological test, what types of test, there are examples, okay, which you need to memorize, and what we do, the generic idea, like why this test is important, like such things you should mention. And you can mention the similar thing in mental health counseling as well, and you can also understand about career counseling, school counseling, and you can also know that it can help in self-knowledge and other things as well. Okay, that was all about first application in mental health settings. Clinical we talked about, and we also talked about counseling, and we also talked about counseling in other areas such as school and organization or career as well. Okay, not organization, sorry, career. So let's talk about educational settings. Okay, in educational settings, aptitude, interest, ability, achievement. Okay, such things need to be measured. So there are aptitude tests, measures potential to learn. There are interest inventory, measures preference. There's ability test, measure specific skills. Okay, there are achievement test, measures what have been learned. Okay, qualities of well constructed test. Okay, this should be the include situational items of moderate length and difficulty. It's this extra stuff. I don't think it's quite important. Test construction is it's quite generic stuff that we already studied about in unit 2 as well. So you can include that if you want to make your answer lengthy, or else it's something that you can include in everywhere. Okay, so let's talk about in organizational settings, what are important to know: employee selection, development and placement. So goals of organization: optimal production, efficiency, hiring the right people. So that are the goals of organization. Okay, according to that we are going to have the test to understand these things. So psychological aspect of optimal performance: skills, personality, attitude, teamwork, leadership. Okay, psychometric testing focus on job fit. Okay, psychometric test, it focuses on job fit, predicting behavior. Okay, to predict the behavior, testing variables. Okay, capability, habitual behavior aspects like personality and values. These are something that we are interested to check in organizational settings. So let's talk about some of the examples. Okay, there are capacity tests, okay, there are intelligence tests, there are creativity tests, there are interest or personality tests, and there are cognitive tests which are used in organizational settings. Popular test again 16PF, MBTI, B5, okay, and FIBRO-B. These are some of the examples which you have to remember or memorize. An application of psychometric testing: team building, okay, it helps in team building, selection, placement, okay, conflict resolution, and leadership development. So this was the generic idea, okay. So we use psychological test in various settings, such as we use in mental health settings, for example in clinical and counseling, okay. For what? To access, to diagnose, to create the treatment plan, to monitor progress, okay, to evaluate whether therapeutic intervention are effective or not, or working or not. And we also going to use this psychological test for research purposes, okay, creating much better tools or tests for future, okay, like maybe to understand this mental health behaviors as well, or mental health as well, okay, overall. So it's also quite similar in counseling. If we are mental health counselor, so kind of similar things. We will assess mental health. We may not do diagnosis, but we may work on treatment planning. We may also use it to monitor the progress of counseling, and we may also evaluate the counseling intervention, and we may also do research using psychological test. And there are different kinds of counseling: career, school-based, and each of them have their own kinds of tests which you have to remember. And that was about clinical and counseling. And then we went into educational. In educational, what we are interested in? We are interested in aptitude, interest, ability, achievement, and we have tests to measure that. And similarly in organizational settings, we have employee selection, development, placement. We are interested on such aspects, and we have similar kinds of tests, okay, different kinds of tests specific to organizational settings which you need to remember. So that's all about Unit 4, applications of psychological tests. Thank you.